But today we're going to talk about the Google Maps. The Google Maps is one of the most effective ways to make the phone ring for your roofing business, right? So we're going to really hone in on really that 80-20 principle, the 80% of what you can do to get real results in the Google Maps section. We're also going to talk about the different things that, you know, kind of the misconceptions sometimes, some of the traps that people fall in. So if you could give me your attention, please, you know, turn off your cell phones, turn off your Facebook. I'll do the same here. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb also, so I can give you guys my full attention and I don't get interrupted over here. You know, if you're a roofing business owner or work for a roofing company, you know, and you're serious about getting better results this year and into the next year, you know, we'll probably be on here for about an hour, and it really can make a really significant impact. And I'm going to show you at the end a person, a company owner who was on this webinar last year, and they just implemented some of the things that we talked about on this webinar, and I'll show you the results that they have achieved. This is without hiring us as an agency. This is just pure information. The mission of our company is to help roofing contractors generate more revenue through their digital marketing efforts, and we do that, you know, through this educational process with as much intention as we do through our agency when we do as we kind of do it for you, right? So today we're going to talk about the latest updates in the Google Maps listings, the 5 biggest issues that could be preventing you from ranking, and our proven model for ranking in the 3-pack, and some of the best tools to systematize and automate the heavy lifting as you're going through this. So if you're not familiar with me, my name is Jim Aline. I'm the co-founder of Roofer Marketers. I'm also the author of 2 books, a co-author of 2 books on internet marketing for roofing contractors, one titled Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, and our latest release, The Best Known Roofer, which is the omnipresent marketing framework for roofing companies. I speak at industry events. We're a Google partner. I also host the Roofing Success podcast. If you haven't checked that out, go and do that. It's on all the streaming platforms and on YouTube. It's where I interview successful roofing contractors on the lessons that they've learned in their business and things that you can implement. In our agency, this is what we do, and this is what we've done for many, many years, is working with roofing business owners, working with roofing business companies on their digital marketing efforts. We don't work with restoration companies. We don't work with solar companies. We don't work with plumbing companies. We work with roofing companies. So this is what we do on a day-to-day basis. What we do is based around 3 core principles. And it's around our omnipresence marketing system. And the Google My Business listing falls into the first principle. And that first principle is to maximize the opportunity for your company to generate a lead online. And that's done through Google, through Facebook, social media, Instagram, all of these different things. So increasing the opportunities, maximizing the opportunities, your Google Maps listing being one of them. The second is to maximize your brand impressions across those channels. And the third is to maximize conversions across those channels. So this is an ongoing series of webinars where, and each of the webinars fits into these 3 principles and along the way. So if you're able to, you know, continue to join us on a monthly basis and learn more about these things. So let's first talk about, you know, throw a 1 in the chat. I mean, you're here for this reason. It's a little rhetorical, you know, but put a 1 in the chat. Don't just leave me speaking here into the internet alone. Put a 1 in the chat if you feel that being ranked in the Google Maps matters. Of course, right? Number 1, it's a real easy thing. It's an easy question. And that is because this says 44%, but it's really about 35%. About 35% of clicks and calls come from this map section. You'll see this is the way that the Google local service page, results page is formatted. You have your Google local service ads at the top, some pay-per-click advertising here. Then you have your maps listings, and below that are the websites that Google finds most relevant to that. And so the maps listing, I don't know about you, but that's the first place I look when I'm looking for a local company, right? Whether I'm looking for a plumbing company, I'm looking at for a dentist, I'm looking, I look at the map section. And why do we do that? Why is it so attractive psychologically to people? It's because we get to see the reviews, right? We get to see those reviews, and that's a very impactful part of the map section. So of course, the Google Maps matters. So here's an example, of real life kind of numbers in regard to that, right? This is a company that we work with here in Minneapolis, Prominent Construction. About 34% of the phone calls generated from this year were generated through their maps listing. It's an extremely important piece of the puzzle for your overall lead generation system. So Google Maps drives calls, right? You can't rely on, we truly believe you can't rely just on paid strategies. You can't rely just on ranking your website. You can't rely just on home service ads. And you can't do that because they're each just pieces to the greater puzzle. So being able to put all the pieces together is where you get the best results. So let's talk about some of the biggest changes. Listings are very geographically based. This has kind of been an ongoing thing with Google, but it can vary depending on search device, location, internet type. So if you're searching from your phone, Google is using the IP address from your cellular provider to show you the listings around you. But if you're searching from a desktop on, we have Xfinity or CenturyLink here in Minneapolis, it's going to use the IP address from that. You could be on one side of town doing a search and you'll get completely different results if you're on the other side of town. Google is also serving up paid ads in the Maps results. It's part of the Google Ads platform. It's called the location extension. So people are able to run ads in that map section. Google Local Home Services is live in all major markets now. And Home Services plus the Google Maps, they correlate together. The reviews that you get in your Google Maps listing and your Google Business listing flow into your Google Local Service ads to provide that proof of proof to the people searching that you are the company to call. And it's critical to complete the advanced verification process. So speaking to that first, the first thing there is proximity, right? So these are two separate searches from two separate areas. One is done from kind of the Minneapolis area, and one is done more from the St. Paul area. Here, we're located in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. We're known as the Twin Cities, right? So there's Minneapolis is kind of the western major metro area, and St. Paul is the eastern metropolitan area. And you can see that the search on the right is done from St. Paul, and the search on the left is done from Minneapolis. And that is how Google correlates it. Just because I changed the location, I did the exact same search, right? I put in the exact same words, the exact same search term, but what came out of it were completely different results. So that's a very important thing. So for everyone on the call today, the question, a good question to ask yourself is your physical location, the address that you have listed on your Google My Business listing, is that near your perfect customer? So if your address is near your perfect customer, put 1 in the chat. If you feel like, hey, maybe, we don't really want to, our perfect customer isn't around our Maps listing or near our office, put 2 in the chat. So we do have a question that came in. So Christy says 2, right? Kelly's asking how can this pull for a 75-mile radius or 100-mile radius? It doesn't. There's absolutely no chance that your Google My Business listing covers a 75 or 100-mile radius. Now, it may be confusing at times because they'll let you do that service area, right? So you could draw the service area, and no matter how big you draw that service area, Google is going to go off of the address that they mailed that postcard to. So yeah, so I'm assuming, Kelly, that's what you're talking about. That's what your service area covers, right? If you put that, yeah, it's real crazy. And I'll show you some examples a little bit later here, how that proximity factor works. And we'll get into that. So we'll show you some live examples of exactly how that proximity factor works. So now, if you have signed up for if you have not signed up for the Google Local Service Ads, go and do that as soon as you get off of this session here. Google Local Service Ads connects to your Google My Business listing. So the reviews that you have in your Google My Business listing flow up into the Google Local Service Ads. And so that trust factor that you build in your Google My Business listing will help you to generate phone calls through your Google Local Service Ads. Google Local Service Ads is Google's pay per lead section, so it's not free. It takes, I think they do a background check, and they get your insurance information, maybe some licensing in there, depending on the state, to get approved for that section. A great place to generate leads. Only about 14% of the traffic on the page goes to these when they're listed. So compared to the map section, it's 35%. But what's nice about this versus the Google Maps section is that you can select the locations that you want to show up in. So Kelly, when you want to show up, 50 miles from your physical office, or maybe not, or in that 75-mile radius, you can choose all of those towns in there that will help you. So this is how it impacts the search results, right? We have the Google Local Service Ads at the top of the page, Google Ads right below that, Google Maps below that, and the websites that Google feels is most relevant to that search query below that. So to maximize your opportunities, you want to be participating in all of these if possible, right? You want to be trying to get your website ranking in Google. You want to get your maps listing ranked in Google. You want to use effective pay-per-click advertising. You want to use the Google Local Service Ads, because that's going to create the most opportunity to generate a phone call for your business. The Google Local Service Ads get about 14% of the traffic on the page, as I mentioned. The Google Ads get about 11% of the traffic. So Google kind of takes about 25% of the traffic on average to their paid platforms. Then you have the map section and the organic section. Down in the organic section, the website section, you're really competing against HomeAdvisor and Yelp and Angie's List, but there are always a few companies that get listed in that area. So very impactful to get there. So if you are not signed up for Google Local Service Ads, go to adwords.google.com/ I think it, Nikki, can you drop that in the chat for people who have not done that? So some of the biggest changes, AdWords is always changing. Sometimes there's 3 companies listed in the AdWords. Sometimes there's 2. Google is always kind of manipulating these search results to make them, I don't know, better for the searcher, right? So Google Local Service Ads are there, AdWords are there, your Maps listings are there. A lot of, like I said, those third-party companies like Yelp and HomeAdvisor and Better Business Bureau, they're really you're competing with them a lot in the organic section, but they can't get in the map section, right? HomeAdvisor cannot rank in the maps. It is not a local, it's a very, very powerful way for you to get, so it's a very powerful way. Sorry, I was reading a question. It's a very powerful way to get to get phone calls that some of these lead aggregators can't. Some of these companies in your area that may have huge budgets to go into pay-per-click and things like that, you can still get them in the map section. So Kelly, that you're actually in the Q&A section. Nikki, can you send Kelly Slayton the link directly in chat? All right. So one of the things that Google has done over the years, one of the things that it continues to evolve and change on is the way that they are really fighting spam. There's a lot of spam in the Google Maps listings. There are spam companies. There's very few of them anymore, but there was a time when a lot of people who had skill sets and knowledge like I do, we could just go out and build a bunch of maps listings, and then we could take those phone calls and sell them back to you guys in the local area. There was a time that would happen, but Google has really been pushing hard on this, and it has reduced the fake Google Maps listings by as much as 70% since 2015. And now it's working also on Google reviews. It's also trying to reduce the amount of fake reviews. It's a little more challenging to their algorithm, but they are doing it. And if anyone has noticed over the past year, especially just going into when COVID started and even today, sometimes your reviews will get stuck in limbo. A customer will leave you a review and it doesn't show up for 2 weeks or even a month sometimes, because Google is trying to filter that and make sure that that it's a real person on the other side. It's a real review. So things that could be hurting your maps listing, as I said, you need to have an office in the city that you're targeting to rank well on Google Maps. Do not try to spam Google with fake locations. It can work, but if you do try to do something like that, go into it with the understanding that it may just get shut down, right? So if you do go out and create a bunch of maps listings to try to game the system a little bit, know that it's probably a short-term type of solution. Having an inconsistent name, address, and phone number across the internet, we'll talk a lot about this today. It's really about, these are called citations. So the more times that Google sees your business name, address, and phone number in the exact same manner across the internet, the more confident they are at showing your maps listing versus another company's maps listing. You don't want to be spamming your Google Maps listing with like city names and extra keywords. We'll talk about that also. And make sure that you have enough reviews across the web. So we'll talk about that, but think about the way that you search, right? If you see 3 companies listed in the maps, and one company has 10 reviews and a 3.4 star rating, and one company has 50 reviews and a 4.9 star rating, and the other has 120 reviews with a 5-star rating, right? The person with the most and best reviews is most likely going to get the phone call. So it's not as important to be number 1, 2, or 3. It's important to be in the map section and then have the best reputation online as possible. So the first thing you want to do is in our proven formula for getting ranked in the 3-pack is claiming and optimizing your Google My Business listing. Building citations, as I mentioned, having consistency with your name, address, and phone number, having lots of real reviews, and then having on-page optimization on your website that correlates and gives Google the right signal to then help you get ranked in the map section. So to claim and optimize your Google My Business listing, you make sure you have a login for your GMB account. Update your company name to read your specific company name. Don't add, a city name or anything that's not a part of your actual business name. This could get you suspended in the Google Maps. Add your website address. This is an important link because it creates that correlation between your company website and your company Google My Business listing. So now Google knows who you are. Use local phone numbers. 800 numbers really don't work as well. When someone is searching for a roofing company, they are looking for a company locally. So have a local phone number. Use a local address. Never use a PO box. UPS stores are very challenging. It used to work where you could just get a PO, but like a mailbox at a UPS store, and you could get that ranked. But Google, that's one of the things that Google is really fighting against. On top of that, those the executive suite places, like the bigger ones are kind of the Regis and things like that. Those are challenging also. Google understands now that is a Regis office, right? And so it just doesn't have the same impact as a physical location out, a standalone kind of physical location or an office suite somewhere. Upload as many photos as possible. Use pictures of your staff, use, pictures of jobs, pictures of your logo everywhere. If you have wrap trucks, pictures of your wrap trucks. People connect and resonate with people. So make sure that you're creating that impact on that. List your service area. If you don't have a physical address, a physical office location, have a service area business. That's what you were talking about, Kelly. Having that service area business, but with the understanding that Google is going to rank your maps listing based on the address that they sent that postcard to. Make sure to list your hours of operation, services offered, all of those types of things. So here's an example, right? You could see that you have to select categories for your Google My Business listing. If you are a contractor, you could select contractor, right? Just plain old contractor. But as your primary category needs to be your primary service. So roofing contractor, if you are a roofing contractor needs to be your primary category. You can add siding contractor and different categories as secondary categories, but make sure you have roofing contractor as your first category, as your main category. Select your service area, hours of business, all of those types of things. Add photos, as we were talking about, and then in that dashboard, you're going to be able to over time kind of see where people are interacting, how many views you're getting on your Google My Business listing, things like that. You can see how prominent does it here. There's pictures of jobs, there's team members winning awards, there's all kinds of things that people would like to see. Another thing to do is to get great reviews, right? Getting great reviews is an important part. Sorry, this is getting Google posts. So creating Google posts. So there are, you can create Google posts, and that's kind of like posting on your Facebook page, right? So it creates activity on your Google Maps listing. Then you need to, on an ongoing basis, update your photos, add to your photos, create Google posts on a regular basis, respond to reviews, and answer questions that get posted. So that interaction also, that activity on there also lets Google know. It's another signal to Google that they should rank your maps listing over the competitor. So back to the citations, lots of citations across the internet. Here's some examples of that. A citation would be your company listed on superpages.com, on Yelp, on HomeAdvisor, on Owens Corning's website, on Dex Knows, and yellowpages.com, yp.com. All of these are places that Google recognizes your name, address, and phone number. So in doing that, you're in all of these places, and that will get you those the kind of that authority to Google. Make sure that there is not incorrect business information. If you've ever made an office change, right, or if you ever do make an office change, you're going to have to go back and do what's called a citation cleanup, and go back and change and reformat the name, address, and phone number on all of those listings. We usually do 250, 300 of these is about what we do. Pay attention to aggregators. So aggregators, getting your information on Factual or Newstar and things like this, Info Group, what they do is you get it on that platform, and it distributes to over 300 sites across the internet. So then you're not doing this on a manual basis, one by one, integrating like 250, 300 of these. Some tools for doing this: Bright Local is a company that does this. They have a citation building service. Yext is another citation management service. Whitespark and Moz Local also have services for this. The company that I'm going to show you later in the presentation that was on this webinar last year used Bright Local as one of their to build their citations. So if you're interested in finding out if what your how your citations look around the internet, just shoot us a message. We'll run a free citation consistency check. You could probably, if you'd like us to do that, drop a 1 in the chat, and Nikki Nikki just take those names down, and we'll reach out to you and you guys, and we'll do that for you. This is an example of what that citation check will look like. It's going to pull your listings in all of these different. It's going to go out and see if you are listed in these directories and how your name, address, and phone number is listed. And then, and in seeing that, then we'll know, how well your citations are being built out or have been built out across the internet. So again, best practice, right? Manually claim and optimize your Google My Business listing. Use a tool like Yext, set up Bright Local to get kind of those top 50 or 100 citations listed. Get listed in the major data aggregators so they flow through the internet. Leverage a tool like Bright Local Citations. Bright Local Citations will actually go and kind of identify opportunities for citations for you. Finder or Whitespark will also do the same thing with niche listing opportunities. And these are some of the best listings for roofing contractors. So HomeAdvisor, I know it sucks. They're going to keep calling you all the time, but if you have a listing on HomeAdvisor, HomeAdvisor is a very authoritative website in Google's eyes. So having your name, address, and phone number, your business listed on HomeAdvisor is a great citation. Yellowpages.com, Thumbtack, Better Business Bureau, Angie's List, Yelp, Porch, things, Super Pages, Manta, Facebook, whitepages.com, Yellow Pages. There's all of these, but then along with that, you want to be listed on the brand websites, right? If you're on GAF.com or ABC Supply, Contractor Connection, Guild Quality, all of those are great for brand because they have a great brand in the market. You need lots of real reviews. Lots of real reviews. Reviews are tough to get. Who thinks, put a 1 in the chat if you've had if you've had issues getting your customers, getting your homeowners to leave you reviews on Google. Yeah, sorry, Dan, I just don't know what's going on with Zoom for you. So we'll make sure that you get the replay, Dan, by not being able to see anything. So here's some strategies for driving consistent reviews. Leverage tools to request a review after every job is completed. There are a ton of tools on the market that will allow you to request reviews. Leave a printed review card, right? That people can, or with a QR code that goes directly to your Google Maps listing, where they can go in and leave you a review right there. But a big part of it is training your crews, your project managers, your salespeople to deliver a world-class experience, and then ask for the review. Sometimes making a call after the jobs are completed, that also is a good way. Build reviews and recognition into your company culture. When I say that, I mean, make it part of their job. Make it part of your employees' jobs to get and ask for reviews. If you have to incentivize them financially or through some kind of a cool reward system, do that. It will pay dividends, right? Maybe give people, give your employees $25 for every review that they get, or $50 for every review that they get. Maybe the most the person with the most, that got the most reviews in that quarter, gets a $500 bonus, or something like that. But making sure that asking for and getting reviews is part of your process. It is the most impactful thing that you can do for your business from your side of the business. It is the most impactful thing. It will change the way that people perceive your company online, and they will call you over your competitors if you have a better reputation. Some tools that you may have heard of or may not have heard of: Grade.us, ReviewBuzz, GatherUp, Birdeye, you may have heard of. These are all tools that will help you automate that asking for a review. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to rely on the tool, right? You still have to build a company culture where people will still ask for the review. There's nothing more important than that human interaction and asking for that review. Next, we'll move on to on-page optimization. On-page optimization is a term that we use in search engine optimization for how your website is structured technically. To give yourself an advantage in the map section, you want to have pages for each and every type of service that you offer. So if you do tile roofing, you make sure that you have content about tile roofing. If you do metal roofing, have content about metal roofing. If you do storm damage restoration, have content about storm damage restoration. If you don't have the content, you will not be giving Google the opportunity to show you for these things. If you do commercial work, make sure you're in, have that listed: TPO, modified bitumen, flat roofs, all of these things, roof repair, roof installation. Google is reading your website. You'll go to, you could type some things into Google, especially like tile roofing and metal roofing and things like that. And you'll see in the map section, right below the company's name, it'll say their website mentions tile roofing. Their website mentions. Google is reading your website and using your website content in the ranking of your Google My Business listing. So you need to mention your keywords and cities served on your homepage with titles and within the content. So you're making sure that it's properly optimized. Service area pages for links to cities around you, all of those service area, all of the cities in that 75-mile radius, Kelly. You want to make sure you have a page for each of them. And finally, your name, address, and phone number in the footer of each page. So on your website, you need to have your name, address, and phone number on every page of your website. Again, creates that correlation, connects the dots for Google, right? And local schema and a map embed. So that's, again, more signals. Schema is kind of code that goes in the back end of your website that Google reads. If you use a WordPress website, there are plugins that you could just put a plugin in and enter your schema. It's a little more technical than most. It could be too technical for most people. Here's an example of on-page optimization with prominent construction. Pages for roof replacement, new roof installation, storm damage, asphalt, siding, installation, replacement windows, gutters, commercial, about them, reviews, all of their areas that they serve, calling out the location of their business, Minneapolis and Twin Cities Metro. All of those things are giving Google the right information. One of the top local and owned roofing companies in Minneapolis, right? Prominent Construction in Minneapolis. That's their name, address, and phone number in the footer of their website. Having, like we said, a page for each of the areas that you serve, each of the cities that you work in, Andover, Anoka, Arden Hills, Blaine. So and having the proper title, page title, and just meta description for each page. So a page that's focused on Minneapolis is going to talk about being, the best roofers in Minneapolis. In these page titles, you need the keyword that you're trying to rank for. So this would be roofers, the location that you're trying to rank for, and your branding, your company name. So if this page was for Andover or Anoka, it would be number one roofers in Anoka, Minnesota, prominent construction. Call the number one Anoka roofing company, right? So you want to make sure that each of your pages is formatted in a proper way. So we talked about this, right? Claim and optimize your Google My Business listing. Build citations and consistency through your name, address, and phone number. Have lots and lots of Google reviews. Have great on-page optimization. And all of that kind of brings it together into that 80-20 rule, that 80% that will get you there. So if there's any questions, we could get into some great detail here. Please drop any questions that you have in the chat as we go along. Now I'm going to show you this company that was on, they were on this webinar last year, Level Edge Construction. They're in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. So I ran this search report for them. This is called a GeoGrid. So what this tool does is it searches for a specific search term. So this was roofers, and it searches in the map section. So it starts at your office address and it moves over a little bit in longitude and latitude and then searches again and it documents where you are in the map section. So Kelly, this is a good visual indication of that proximity factor, right? Their office location is right here where the number 3 is. You could see their number 2 right next to their office, but their number 6 the other way, and they start to lose some steam, and then they drop below 20. That's what the X is. They're not in the top 20 in all of those. This company on their own worked on their on-page optimization, and they did a really strong citation build out. I was just speaking with the one of the owners, and I asked him if I could pull these reports again, and this is July 28th, 2021. Just in doing that, they're now number 1 in all of these areas. This is Local Viking, Olivia. So this is a tool called Local Viking. I want to point out another thing that changed. So the name of their company is Level Edge Construction. I talked to them, and I'll impart this on you guys really strongly too. Is they changed their name to Level Edge Construction and Roofing. Google only knows how to read. They only know how to read. So by building a strong foundation and having the word roofing in their business name gives them an advantage in the organic search, in the maps, and in ranking their website. So be mindful of that. If you are, XYZ exteriors, no one searches for exteriors or exterior contractors. Or maybe if you're in a storm damage area, a lot of storm damage area companies, restoration companies like to be called something restoration, right? People don't search for restoration when they're looking for a roofing company. They search for roofers, roofing company, roofing services, all of those types of things, roofing contractor. So having your business name formatted in a way that Google will help you, give you an advantage in Google. So number one, so you could see not even a year, they're dominating their area. Here's for the search term roofing contractors. They were number 5, number 7, 16. Again, number 1, 2, they're, and now, Kelly, you can see that now their growth is, they're moving farther away from their local, their physical address, right? They're building it out further. And so we had another search that I did was kind of a wider physical location. And you can see here, it goes all the way up into St. Paul. Cottage Grove is a southeastern suburb of southeastern suburb of Minneapolis, or of St. Paul. And so, down here they were 10, 8, and 4, and they just disappeared. And now, after just implementing some of these things, they're number one, they still aren't, they still kind of fade into St. Paul. But that's because there's more companies up there. There's more competition, right? So it's going to be more difficult. Not, you can see as they move down away from the metropolitan area, they still continue to be number 1, 2, things like that. So now, as proximity gets greater, and as there are more companies for Google to consider, that's where you're going to start hitting your kind of your edge of where you can get ranked. Hopefully this is helpful. For a companies that we work with, here's an example of a company that we've built up their maps listing. They're in a northern market, so you can see the transition. But we started with them in January of 2020. They only had 2 phone calls from their Google My Business. February, this is as we were building out all of those citations, launching their website with new on-page optimization, those calls started to go. Now Google started to really recognize that. Now we move into winter again. And then coming out of winter this year, 39 calls from their Google My Business listing versus 6 a year previous, right? 54 calls so far in July. Last year they only had 15 calls from their Google My Business listing in July. So it really is impactful to do this, right? It will really change the call volume to your business, really change the lead volume. So Kelly has a question. By building the pages, we can get this coverage that you're showing at this time, which makes sense. Yeah, building the pages is a piece to the puzzle, right? We can look at Prominent's website here. There's a couple of factors. Here's those areas served pages. Oh, they're changing around here. So let's say this is Chaska, right? So residential roofing contractor in Chaska. Let me change my Chaska. Minnesota. I'm going to change. So what I'm doing is I changed my location to make Google think that I'm in Chaska, Minnesota. So I'm going to search for roofing companies, right? You could see that Prominent Construction is showing up in Chaska. Chaska is, they moved their location. They're in Minnetonka, Minnesota now instead of in Minneapolis. But you could see they're pretty far away, right? This is Chaska, but they're showing up in the map section. Now that is because we've built a lot of authority to their site. I mean, we've been working with Prominent since 2015. So it's years of work that has gone into that. But once you put the work in, and it will come into fruition. And so here's Prominent, right? Roofing companies, Chaska. So you notice that I didn't type in Chaska, right? I typed in roofing companies, but Google is seeing my location as Chaska. So it's displaying that page for Prominent at their Chaska roofing page, because Google knows I'm searching from Chaska. Now, let me preface this, Kelly. Just by doing this, it doesn't mean you're going to get it, right? Like there are there's other things that happen, but this is the foundation of creating those opportunities, giving your company that opportunity, right? If you don't give your company that opportunity, and if you don't have that page, right? If they didn't have the page on their website, they wouldn't be here, right? So it's not going to work for all of them. Let me try another one. Let's go to another one. That's Cottage Grove. Here's where the Level Edge Construction was located, right? This is much farther geographically. This is much farther. Cottage Grove is much farther from their office. Cottage Grove is way down here, kind of where this 494 sign is. So you can see I changed my location. I'm going to hit search again. You can see we get many different companies, right? Level Edge is right there. They're showing up. So Level Edge is showing up over here. It's much further away, so it's harder to get, and Level Edge is showing up here. It's much harder to show up for that. So let me see if I add the geographic modifier, Cottage Grove, Minnesota. So I'm not sure if they're going to rank for this. I don't, Level Edge again. Liberty, no. So that Prominent does not rank for this, on that side of town, right? Here it is. So Prominent Construction is right here on page 2. And Level Edge is right above them. So there's Level Edge is actually on page 2 for that also. But my point is, and really what to consider is, if you don't have the pages, you never get the opportunity, right? You will never get the opportunity if you don't have the pages on the website, right? If we type in metal roofing companies, you can see how Google puts here provides metal roofing options, right? Google knows that from their website. Like that's how, that's kind of how Google, we don't have a lot of tile roofing companies here in Minnesota, but tile roofing companies, Level Edge Construction shows up because we're searching from Cottage Grove. If we search from Minnetonka, which is a western suburb, and do the same search, tile roofing companies, now we get Prominent Construction, right? Because they provide tile roofing services, right? So I hope that's impactful for people. Put a 1 in the chat if that's impactful, to understand that if you don't have the words on the page, you don't get the opportunity. Just drop that in chat. Like that's an important thing to consider. So now, if you guys haven't, check out the Roofing Success Podcast, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, all of the major podcast platforms. If you want to see the video versions, you go on YouTube. Follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. all of the social media platforms. We post a lot of clips from those episodes, which I hope you'll like. And if you want to learn how we can help you, help build this out for you and help maximize the opportunities for your roofing company, go to roofermarketers.com, call us directly, 855-799-1252. Jump on a call with us. We'll like I said, our mission is to help roofing contractors generate more revenue through their digital marketing. So whether if you're a fit for working with us or not, we'll still help you, provide you great information to make sure that you're finding success in your roofing business. I'll be on here for a second for if anyone has any more questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. If there are no more questions, it was great having everyone today. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us and help to better your business. If you're going to be at the International Roofing Expo in Vegas in a couple of weeks here, come visit our booth. Stop by, say hello. I'll be speaking at that event also. Anything that we could do to help you in your business, let us know.